In this video, I'm going to demonstrate what I'm going to call a generic process of taking an image like this, which has been processed to some degree in PixInsight, transforming it into an image that has more of the Hubble palette colors. And I'm going to apply it, though, specifically to this, to the Hubble Nebula, NGC 7635, that I captured from my backyard, Bortle 7/8 skies, using my Celestron C9.25 telescope and CGX mount, the ZWO ASI 2600 MC Pro color camera, along with the Optolong L Extreme dual band filter. It's been processed to a degree, and I'm not going to talk about too much about that processing because that's not what this video is about, but I'll tell you how I got here. So I had maybe 50 or so light frames along with a number of dark, bias, and flat frames. And I used weighted batch pre-processing for calibration, cosmetic correction, and debayer. I then took the debayered images and registered them using star alignment, and then stacked them using an image integration. On that stacked image, I did background correction, and then I used some of the scripts in the Easy Processing suite, specifically Easy Soft Stretch, Easy Decon, and Easy Denoise to help clean up the image. And then I used histogram transformation to further stretch it till it looked about like this. And then I decided I wanted it rotated 180 degrees just because I preferred the way it looked. And that's with rotation process. And then I used dynamic crop and I cropped it. And I cropped it to speed up all subsequent processes because that's a smaller image. Okay, so that's how I got to this point. So what's the first thing I did now to try to transform this, which is a very red image, obviously, into a Hubble palette image? Well, the first thing I did was I actually used StarNet. I'll pull it out here. StarNet, which is under process. I usually go to all processes to find these things because I don't really know where they are in their bins, and StarNet is right here. I use StarNet to create a starless image and to create a star mask. So you make sure that's checked. And basically all you do is take this new instance triangle and drop it onto this, and it will create both a starless image and a star mask. And I'll show you those to you right now. Here's the starless image, and there is the star mask. Now, I'm not going to use the star mask as a mask. I'm going to keep it because I'm going to add it back in later, which will add the stars back in. Now, I wanted to do this because I don't want the stars to get colored oddly because of all the processing that I'm going to do on this image here. Notice also this white area. Hopefully you can see it at the bottom. That's because StarNet is not perfect. And this very bright star, it left a little remnant. And that's not necessarily good because it's going to get colored also, and it might not look like you want it to. So the way I dealt with that, and each time you do this, you might use a different approach. But for this example, all I wanted to do is kind of cover that up with a mask. So I went to the scripts, utilities, and if you don't have it, you should get it, game. Now game's going to come up, and you can see there's already a mask on there, but I'm going to delete it. That's because I already had done this previously. I'm going to delete it. So what you would do then is you just add, and you'll get this a little ellipse here. It's very useful for galaxies, but it can be useful for something like this also. Place the center of it over that bright area. Kind of bring these to cover the area itself. And then click OK. And this will go away, and up will come the mask. And you can use that just like any other mask. You might need to invert it. If you actually want to mask over this, you will need to invert it, but let me, actually I'm going to delete this because I've already got the game mask that I used right here. Okay, so now I've got a game mask, I've got the star mask, and I've got the starless image. So now what do? If you take a look at this image and you say, you want to look at the RGB channels. You're going to work in RGB space. And you notice this bright area right here. That bright area is where the blue and the green channels are concentrated. They're not really anywhere else. And red is everywhere, including here. And I'll show you that by just clicking on this split RGB channels. And you can see there's blue and green and red. And all of them are very bright in this one central region where you have the light area. And so what I wanted to do is I want to do a couple things. One is I want to make this a little blue because that's where the blue and the green are. Which means I've got to somehow reduce the intensity of the red in that region and somehow enhance the blue and the green. Now, keep in mind, with a dual band filter, the red is the hydrogen alpha emission line. The blue and the green are both the oxygen 3 emission line because it's a blue-green color. So this is coming, these two are coming from the same line, the same band from the filter of the oxygen 3. And so it's not surprising they look, this is a little noisier, the blue is, they look very, very similar. I'm thinking the blue is a little noisier than the green because, remember, these are RGB Bayer matrix, and there's two greens for every blue, and maybe that's why it's cleaner. I'm not sure, but that's my guess. Okay, so that's my goal. So I'm going to get rid of these because I've already got them. Yes, I've already got them. So I'm going to get rid of them. I've already done this. Oops. All right, so now, how am I going to approach this? How am I going to change it so to reduce that red and to enhance the blues and the greens, and that particularly in this general area here? Well, the first thing I decided I was going to do was I was going to do HDR multi-scale transform. Because it's so bright in the center here, I want to increase the range of contrast. I don't want it to so bright in the center that I can't do much with it. It's going to always be bright. So I want to reduce some of that intensity there and vary it throughout the entire nebula. And what you're going to see it does, and basically you can play around with all these parameters. I'm not going to go through it. You can read about it. You drop this new instance onto the image, and what happens, I'll put this back, is this. And you can see it did a couple things. First, it reduced that intensity in this general region. It also gave it some definition, gave it some texture almost, that I found rather appealing. So I'm at this point now, and this is from here on out, this is what I'm going to work with, not the regular Starless. So I'm going to iconize the Starless. I'm going to actually iconize the original, and this is what we're going to work with. So the next thing I did was I extracted again. Actually, I did one thing before that, and you don't have to do this. One thing I did was I extracted the lightness here component. I'll do that right now. And I looked at it and I wanted to sharpen it up a little bit and then add it back to it. Now you got to be careful when doing this because when you sharpen it, you can also create some noise. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to open up the ones I've already opened. So here's that same one I just showed you. And here it is after sharpening. Now how did I sharpen it? The way I sharpened it is using unsharp mask, which you can find again up in processes, all processes. Unsharp mask is the last one. And you're going to have to play with these parameters to get it the way you want it. And so I took this, excuse me, not this. I took this, and I would drop, once I got this set up, and you have to experiment. This is why it's not a recipe. You have to experiment. And I dropped the new instance onto that, and this is what I got. So you say, well, fine. Does that look a little bit sharper, but it also added a little noise. You can see the noise, and we're going to get rid of that noise later on. So there is a trade-off, but I think the way I did this by sharpening it up and then later on reducing the noise, it worked. I think this is again an optional step. You don't have to do this. And the way then iconize this, and so now you have a sharpened image, and when you open up this RGB combination, I can iconize that. Where is it? Go back to it. All right, so that's the sharpness. And then basically you take that, you drop it onto the L. I already had done that. Uncheck the RGB because you're not doing anything with them. And then drop this onto this image here. And let me show you. Oh, actually, this is it. I don't remember. Yes, so that's the Starless. You see two things here. Obviously, one is the effect of the HDR multi-scale transform, but also you can see that's a little bit fuzzy to begin with, and it sharpened it up some. So it does sharpen it. Again, it always also has a little bit of noise. It's not necessary. You don't have to do it. Now I want to. So I've got this sharpened. I've got it to where I got this reduced intensity. I got that texture. Now I'm going to go and split the RGB channels, and I'm not going to do it, but because I've already done it. And okay, red, green, and blue. Okay, so again, blue's still noisy. So the red, you can see it very much mimics this, very much. So there's the red. The green and the blue still don't look much different than they did before. So now I'm going to apply another trick. And another trick is I'm going to create new red, greens, and blues. And the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to take Pixel Math, which again, all processes, Pixel Math. If you haven't used it before, you can either use a single RGB expression, just one expression, or you can uncheck it, and then which will come to R, G, and B, and you can enter three separate RGB channels and recombine them. But I'm just going to create a single RGB expression right now. See how much more variation there is in the red. And I want to make this look a little bit more like it as well as the green. So I tried a little trick here. And again, I played with it. And I'm going to take 50% of the blue image, which is this, 50% of this, and 50% of the red image, which is this. To kind of crowd it in here. And I'm going to add them together. And I'm going to create a new image called BR, blue with a little bit of red. Okay, and then the way you do that is then you add it, and you come down here under Destination, create new image, title it, give it an ID, whatever you want. I'm going to call it BR. And you're going to make it a grayscale image. Then I click this, and lo and behold, there it is. Okay, and I'm going to view, zoom to fit. Okay, so there it is. Now, I'll put Pixel Math back, and you can compare that with the original blue. And you can see there's more to it. All right, okay, and remember, what this is about is it's using your artistic creativity and however you want to do it to create something that you like at the end. And this happened to be a process that helped me to get to that point of something I liked. So I'm going to iconize this. I'm going to iconize this. I'm going to put it up here. I did the same with green, by the way. There's the same exact thing, 50-50 with green. Green, it looks just about like the blue. And then I did something with the red, which, because I want to reduce some of this in here with the red. So I said, well, why don't I just subtract off some of the blue and the green, and it'll come out of mostly this area, and then see what it looks like. So we'll go back, and I'll go to Pixel Math. Again, I'm going to clear this one, and I'm going to go, and this is what I ended up with. Remember, I experimented to get to this point. Expression Editor. I'm going to go red. I'm going to go minus. I'm going to go 0.25 times the sum of the green rather, and the blue, if I can find them. The blue plus the green. So basically what that says, I'm going to subtract off 25% blue, I'm going to subtract off 25% green from the original red. Click OK. And I'm not going to do it, but I could say create a new image. I could title it RMGB, which is what I did. Okay, I'll do that. R red minus blue green. And then again, you need a target open to do this, by the way, or I'll tell you you need a target open. So I'm just going to open one. And then you just color space grayscale, and you'll see, I'll do it. I'll delete it later. It'll be called RMBG1. And I'll apply, and it will look like this. And what you can see is some of that area where the blues and the greens are, it became even less intense. Compare the two. I'll go again with view, zoom to fit, and compare them. Okay? All right, so now I remember I said RMGB1, BG1 because I already had it, so I'm going to get rid of it. I don't need it because I already had it. Go back to that. And now it's getting to be the fun part. Now you're going to combine these things back together using pixel math. Okay, and so you've created them, now you're going to combine them. So I'm going to clear it, and I'm going to uncheck this because I'm going to go to do RGB. For R, I'm going to make sure it's on R. I'm going to try something, and I had to experiment with this, with multipliers. So I'm going to go 0.75 times, and then, whoops, that's not a 0, is it? 0.75 times, and then I'm going to use the RMBG. Okay, QR, there we go, RMBG, plus 0.25 times the green, which is called GR. Okay. Now remember, you're going to say, how did you get to this? Well, through experimentation. I tried different multipliers and so on until I got something I liked. Green, I'm doing this the opposite. 0.75 times the GR plus 0.25 times the red, which is RMBG. All right. And the blue I'm going to leave as blue, which is the BR. Okay, and you can call this what you want, but you're going to create a new image. I actually called it, I think, processed, pre-colored or something, but I'll just for the fun of it go new RGB, and I'm going to delete it afterwards anyway because I already created it. Now this one, again, you have to open up a target. So let's just open up a target, or else it won't work. I'll tell you, you got to open up a target. And then just put, again, it could be the same as this, but I'm going to just put RGB color and let it go. Okay, and you're going to get something that looks like this, and you're going to go, ooh, that does not look like I want it to. But just hold on, it will. Actually, I've already created this here, right there. So I'm going to use that one instead. I'll delete this. The same. Okay, I'll close that back up. So how do you make this look like you want it to? It's pretty much fun here after this. So let's go to curve transformation, process, all processing, curve transformation. If you've never used it, it's a very powerful tool. We can modify the reds, greens, the blues separately. The RGB, all of them, that's kind of a contrast thing. It makes it contrasting or brighter or duller. There's your lightness, and I don't mess with these. And saturation, which is what I'm going to do now. So let's open this up, and let's give it a little saturation, and watch this. Okay, now what happened? Oops, I forgot to put my mask on. So I'm going to go back down, and my game mask. I'm going to add it. Right, guys, it's back. And I'm going to invert it, mask, invert. So now you see it. Okay. You can do more if you wanted to. Let's say I want to add a little more. Okay, there you go. Now I could modify contrast a little if I want to, or add a little bit of, and play around with it a little bit like this. The point here is the bottom line is where you end up is when you're happy. And you're not pleasing anyone but yourself. Now, you hope other people like it, but it's for you. So I'm going to close this down. I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to delete it. And then I have something that looks like this at the end. That's where I stopped. Now, I want to show you something. This is not unusual. And that is when, I find it's not unusual. When you start playing with these colors, you get all this noise. And I don't like noise, and I kind of like it to look a little softer anyway. So what I do is TGV denoise. Again, you might want to play with these parameters. Particularly strength and smoothness, I actually increase both of them. And you drop this new instance onto it. Again. And here you go. Now that I like that. You can see the noise is gone. It's very smooth, but I like the look of it. It's soft. All right, so let's close that one down, and we're on this. So now what do we do? Well, really, there's not much left to do other than to add the stars back. You have your star mask, and you have this image. Open up Pixel Math. Clean it up. Now use the single expression. Go to the expression editor. And this one is process color TVG denoise plus star mask. And basically, you don't need to create a new image. I iconize this, unless you want to. Just drop this onto it. And it'll add the stars. I'm not going to do it because I've already done it and I want to keep this. Whoops. I want to keep this. So let me open up the one that has the stars. And there you go. So this is what I started with, and this is what I ended with.